And you joined the Labour Party at 16. Did it feel different? Like, obviously, Eton has produced a lot of Conservative prime ministers, but not as known for producing sort of Labour politicians. How was that experience?
One of the things I feel strongly is that we massively overdo the impact of institutions on people's beliefs in this country. So for me, a really foundational experience was that every summer I'd go home and my brother and I, would share this room and live in Cathays, and in sixth form we worked in a kebab shop overnight, and so I got a pretty good sense of what South Wales was experiencing in that part of the community, and then I got a sense of what my friends from Eton were experiencing. And when you experience that, you want to make sure that kids in both sets of contexts experience the best shot at opportunity. And when you think that, and you look at history, the fact that Healy and then Brown and then now Rachel Reeves are all the best occupants of the role at the Treasury from a fundamental focus on shifting the needle on child poverty. You feel like this is a great vehicle to be able to make positive change in the country. Other people take a different view because they've thought it through. I will say that there is a tradition of people from all sorts of schools, including Eton, in the Labour Party. In fact, I think there's been a serving member of the Labour Party in Parliament from Eton for every year up until 2010. And so the gap is an aberration rather than the norm.
Well, that's a fact I didn't know. And was that your first job then, working in a kebab shop overnight? Was that the first thing you did for money?
Yeah, so I think I think I can't remember if the kebab shop was first or I delivered the Metro newspaper on St Mary's Road in the morning in the winter. It was bitterly cold, and I so viscerally remember it. My gloves were really, really not great gloves, and I was handing out Metro newspapers on St Mary's Road when commuters were going through at about 7 a.m. It was freezing cold.
That's interesting. Often the newspaper, I sometimes think of this as generational in terms of like boomers and Gen X, often their first money will have been earned from newspaper deliveries. The sort of next generation, our generation, millennials, tends to be kind of like hospitality, bar work, etc. And now actually the younger generations earning their first money online.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it is such a formative experience. It perhaps has more impact on the way that you see the world than institutions, perhaps, given what you were saying earlier. So let's fast forward a bit. We'll sort of skip out Oxford and Stanford. Maybe we'll come back to those one day. But you get appointed the AI minister by Keir Starmer. What was your reaction when you got that phone call?
Well, the chief whip called me, and I was in a cab going home, and for a period of time, both pre-election and then immediately after election, I was off the conviction that the primary crisis in Britain was a crisis of prosperity, that the best path to fairness was a path that worked through greater prosperity. A richer country was going to be a fairer country, and that AI and technology had huge opportunity to be the central driver of that prosperity. So when I got the call and was offered the role, I just felt this huge sense that I'd spent so much time thinking about it, preparing for what some of the public policy answers were for Britain when it came to technology, that the opportunity to try and then do that in practice was a huge gift. And so I felt very grateful, but more than anything else, I remember going home, I wrote down a list of sort of, before I got into the institution and became native, I thought, what are the 10, 15 things that I think I want to try and do within the first 3 months that will move the needle. And, it's just very gratifying. I remember writing my first note to the Secretary of State and saying, there are 15 things that I think we need to try and get done within the next 90 days. And I think 12 of them we've gotten done. And so I just feel really grateful for the opportunity. I think the driver of prosperity and growth for our country is going to be AI for the course of the foreseeable years. And at the same time, there are lots of difficult social questions that are also fundamentally driven by AI and the experience of safety online. And so the combination of those two things, I think, are the two most important things in British politics.
So what is the job of the AI minister? Because it's quite a new job in some ways. There aren't that many holders of it previously. So what is the job of the AI minister?
I think about it in terms of outcomes. There are two things that I need to make sure that I deliver. One is to make the country richer as a result of capturing all the opportunities of AI right across the country. So drive growth, but drive growth that everyone can be a part of. And then the second part of it is that alongside that, to do it not just at speed and scale, but to turn the steering wheel in the direction of our values. And that, to me, is really fundamentally about making sure people are safe online, that our adoption of AI is responsible, and that we're driving it with British values as well. So, yes, go fast and go further in terms of growth as a consequence of AI, but to also give it direction in the direction of the things that are really important to us in Britain.